Yeah, okay. Hi to everybody. There's a new
Yeah,
introduction. You
yeah,
were saying about changing of like ecology, right? Jet streams and in US,
yeah.
but I think it's not only in US.
No, no,
In
no. It's the entire planetary system, um, and
but your
oddly enough,
president says that it's all like fake.
oh, I know. Yeah, there's.
And
I mean that my sense of that, and I think I've touched on it in the past, is that my sense of world leaders and people in government are fully aware that there are changes happening to the planetary system that sustains life. And they understand that the things are going to become more and more difficult and have actively pursued policies for the last 40, 50 years or maybe longer in order to exert more and more control so that when when life becomes more challenging due to ecological problems, not just climate, but
Mhm.
ecology. Let's take Tehran for instance. Right now, Tehran is out of water.
Hmm.
The government of Iran has acknowledged that 14 million people have to relocate.
Really? Huh.
Yes, yeah, the drought has been so long and so severe, and so many, the population has gotten so big, and there's been probably mismanagement, uh, and everything is being brought in bottled water. Their reservoirs are down. They really have, um, they're in a very very bad shape, which probably makes some other countries very happy. Um,
Yeah,
so
why there's like happy, even not countries, but like who own capital, right, and who want to
hmm,
increase their capital, because like according to David Graeber and other like anthropologists, slaves, it's the people
yeah,
who don't have like relationships, so they're like taken out of their
hmm,
like like this feedback loops that's
yeah,
they have like I don't know, like family, they have some kind of identities, brother, mother,
yeah,
like uncle, and so on,
hmm,
and they're like taken out like with violence. You can bomb some country, right, and they flee to, like, for example, to Europe, I don't know, like to Russia, to
hmm,
US, and it's cheap
yeah,
labor, right? So,
hmm,
and in capitalism, right, we want, right, cheap labor, cheap means of production, right, cheap
hmm,
land in order to make profit for like themselves. So basically
yeah.
this relocation immigrants with whom like ice like in constant like actually it's like good for capital when people like relocated through the war or
Yeah.
through the like natural disaster.
Well,
The,
it's good up to it may be good in from certain points of view, um, but
for Jeff Bezos or
it
for
it brings an interesting degree of disruption of the existing population, and but but for certain portions, and again, my sense is to finish up my line of
Mhm,
thought
mhm.
is that for 40 or 50 years, I believe that the people who are actually the bureaucratic, the government that continues regardless of who's elected. You know, there's professional, you know, there's a whole army of government workers
Deep
that
state,
actually
swamp.
keep, well, not just deep state, but just the people who are doing the work of administering this, you know, collecting funds,
Mm-hmm.
distributing funds, determining where funds go, and the people that have influence in now. Every large organization, every corporation, you have competing visions of where how that corporation should, the goals it should pursue, the way it should pursue them. And so there's always different points of view in leadership of complex organizations that have different agendas or different beliefs and different strategies for how to accomplish whatever that organization is tasked with accomplishing. That could be manufacturing cars, that could be building boats, that could be farming, or that could be administering a country. Within the different agencies, there's competition for funding, because, you know, the people who are in charge of medicines or whatever need funding to do their job. People in charge of the military need funding to do their job. People in charge of education need money to do their job. And so there's all these competing elements within a complex organization. But I think that some of and there's people that are there for, you know, spend their careers there 30, 40 years and accumulate a great deal of influence
Mm-hmm.
in leadership roles. And then my sense is most of them have understood for some time that the current system is going to become increasingly unstable.
Mm-hmm.
And the population is going to become much more agitated. And at some point, they're going to have to impose severe controls on the population.
Yeah.
And so there's
Mm-hmm.
been, you know,
CCTV.
this gradual movement towards the imposition of, for lack of a better word, something like martial law, or like in China, the social credit score and the incredible degree of surveillance, which kind of brings us into the techno-feudalism of Yanis Varoufakis', you know,
Mm-hmm.
discussion. But there's a way of structurally containing the population so that they don't revolt and under the increasingly challenging circumstances they're going to have.
Yeah, and it's
And I think that's
it's
happening everywhere.
yeah, and I think it's not I think like I David Graeber, right? He's like anthropologist. He researched this topic
Mm-hmm.
about police. It's like this
Mm-hmm.
internal army for like
Right.
the elites. They like in
Mm-hmm.
UK
Yep.
created this like militia, like police, in order to
Yeah.
like put down like this rebel like who wants to change things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like this violence, right? And then like now we have, it's like more, you know, not now, but like maybe 20 years ago it was like CCTV, and it's all you know, like with news it's get muddled with propaganda, but now it's like more and
Mm-hmm.
more obvious,
Yeah.
like reality of this. Ha-
Yeah. Yeah. It's in this country, for example, there was a lot of surplus military equipment after the Iraq War, during the period of time where we thought we had some sort of stable situation in Iraq, you know, and mainly under Obama, but starting with Bush, but then under Obama, um, there was a massive transfer of military equipment to city police forces,
Mm-hmm.
armored personnel carriers, high-tech military equipment, because there was a surplus of hardware. And so
It's a
and
new
people
market.
were really
It's profit.
well,
You c-
actually they were like grants. They were just giving it away to the police departments.
yeah, but
And so
somebody paying government.
well, the taxpayers had already paid for the
Yeah,
manufacture of this
yeah,
stuff for war.
yeah,
And it just so happens they had a lot of it to give to the police, and now the police are really well armed
yeah. And now
and
army,
anticipating, and but this has been planning for the imposition of control,
mm-hmm,
in my view.
hmm,
And that was Obama did
mm-hmm.
most of that. The big liberal president,
Yeah,
he
it's
was the one,
basically
yeah.
same like a neoliberal, like this agenda started with Thatcher and Reagan,
Hmm.
uh, from in the
Yeah.
70s, I think, right? And it was like,
Yeah, it became more obvious. It became more obvious. Um, because a person could go back to post-war and at the end of World War II in Europe, Soviet Union was already communist, people's paradise,
mm-hmm.
and but the in Europe was really
And it scared a lot of people, who owns capital, you know?
yes, and what happened after World War II was in like Italy and France, the social, because life was so hard after after Europe had
Yeah,
blown itself up
yeah, yeah.
like they do like every 50 years or used to. Um, I mean, that was sort of the European
Now
history was
looks like
every 50 years we blow each other up for a while and then we try and rebuild. But this was a pretty broad destruction, and life is really hard for the Europeans post-war. And so socialism looked really good.
mm-hmm,
And so there was socialist and communist parties were doing very well, and particularly in Italy and France,
mm-hmm,
and some in Germany. And Britain and the US were really concerned. And so there was the CIA and MI6 engaged in some interesting activities that were called Operation Gladio.
mm-hmm.
And it turns out that was a focused effort working with right-wing elements, and they were making contact with radical left socialist and communist elements in Europe, and they were funding them.
Hmm.
And those resulted in some actually the U.S. and Britain actually funded and gave equipment to radical left groups that engaged in certain types of violence in order to scare the populations in Italy and France and Germany, scare them away from the leftists.
It's very smart because the enemy is the one who eats my grass. So the enemy of ministry of I don't know like energy, it's other ministry like department of war, or like
Yes.
like enemy
Hmm.
of some kind of like it's in Russia. It's like the enemy of like Department of Defense. It's not the like Americans.
No,
Department of War. It's other departments.
it's other departments
Yeah,
competing for that
for budget for their yeah.
for budget. Yeah,
And it's same
yeah.
with I
The
don't know
same
like
everywhere.
left wing but we have like more radical left wing, or like why there's like no global peace, and why there's like won't be. It's like some hypothesis of like this Gurdjieff and
Yeah.
other Uspensky, because as soon
Yeah.
as like some group, I don't know, will have like some kind of conscience, there will be another group who wants to like acquire peace through other means, and they will
Hmm.
compete and they will fight. So it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so it's a competition for status and influence. And you can't separate ego from it, because you get folks want to be right, and they want their version of reality, their shading of reality within a shared
yeah.
culture, context. My one African teacher, his position was, as soon as a society has a police force, or needs to have some sort of police element, that society is done. It's already a broken society, because the cohesion and the trust has been broken, is no longer present.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
because
some of that,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, because before, again, like this in some like in Africa and societies long time before, they like before like organized violence, that's village started to have like for make war to another village. It's like a birth of corporation of this entity that nobody have like any responsibility. It's like kind of, like corporation. It's like ideal. It's like in some virtual reality. But before, when each other, they needed to be like, to talk, to solve their, they can't like kill in the name of something, of in the name of country, in the name of village. And it was like
Hmm.
completely different kind of structure before, like
Yeah, one of the things that uh, what tended to bring this about was, when, as I understand it, and in the way that it seems to make sense to me, is in small scale communities. Once agriculture allowed the storage of calories, the storage of
surplus.
storage of grain, surpluses that could be stored. And I remember there's this guy Luke Kemp, who's been looking at this, who's an anthropologist and thinker, researcher. He puts the term lootable surplus.
Hmm.
When the surplus, if the surplus is extra melons or extra squash, they have a shelf life. They
Yeah.
don't last, and they're hard to move. But when you have grains that you can store, and they last, they can be stored for years. There's a security aspect to that
Mm-hmm.
that carries over the like drought, and a secure food source. But once you have that kind of stored security, you can steal that from somebody. It
Mm-hmm.
becomes lootable.
Mm-hmm.
And so that then makes warfare more practical,
Mm-hmm.
because the reward is greater if you can steal it from them, kill a bunch of them, take their security, and give it to you to bring it to your group. um
It's basically a primitive money. It's, I read about
yes,
this like
good, yeah.
today in Yanis
Hmm.
Varoufakis. I bought a few books,
Mm.
techno-feudalism. I like haven't started yet, and other like
Okay.
like talks with her daughter about economy, and it corresponds with other studies like David Graeber, Michael Hudson. Basically, in
Yeah.
Mesopotamia, they gave out like their salary, like in kind of, what's the material of this, like how to say, like,
In like ceramic pots
yeah,
or different.
ceramic, and there's like some kind of like number, how much grain you earned.
Oh yeah, yeah. They started having units of measure.
Yeah, yeah, in grain, right? Because it was like,
Yes. Right. Yeah.
what's the most important like thing that you, it's like food, right? It was like basically
Well,
like money in
yeah.
order to like disperse across
Right.
like population, workers, and then you can steal it basically. And what money
Right.
is, right? It's like debt, right? It's
And
command of over labor, right?
yeah.
And if you have like a lot, you steal a lot of grain, you can command over some kind of peasants to
Hmm.
do some work for you, to build something, to
Right.
make spears, elbows. And now, like again, with this Yanis Varoufakis and other guy, like what's the name of his? I saw.
Oh, in that conversation, Tim Nichols, or are you thinking of another thinker?
Yeah, another guy. It's he's from South Africa. Maybe I send you like his episode. It's like let me see. Jason Hickel. Do you know him?
Hmm.
Jason Hickel? No.
I think I've seen a little bit. Um, I
He's
think I've
like
seen a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
in
Go ahead.
Barcelona. He's like professor of for Environmental Science and Technology in
Yeah.
Autonomous University of Barcelona. Interesting name.
Hmm.
It's kind of
Enormous.
no, autonomous, like automatic, like
Oh, okay.
yeah, autonomous. I don't know how to pronounce it. So basically, yeah, like, and we are going to the now, right? Again, with
Hmm.
this question of money. Basically,
Hmm.
like, yeah, government, they can have, like in China, they can have like command over labor. They're issuing debt, right? And money can be right printed like it's to infinity, like doing
Yeah.
like fat like and so on. But where
Yeah.
it's like who controls it, because now like in the world, in US, in Russia, it's like the bankers, this class,
Hmm.
and they and
Yeah.
basically it's who owns the capital. Yes, they say, okay, we need labor to build I don't know, like a Mercedes Benz
Hmm.
luxury car, for like yacht, for like some kind of to for some pools, for like I don't know, skyscrapers and some kind of jewelry, and like this
Hmm.
luxury goods.
Yeah.
Labubu, I don't know, like for some kind of, because people want and not, what's saying like Daniel Schmachtenberger about, you can like direct this labor, basically, right? People will be
Hmm.
paid doing like some stuff, I don't know, like planting trees, or like some like some for like ecology, or like just like some studies. But basically, like labor now commanded to do like things for capital. And
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that when there's a surplus of food, somebody has control over how it's distributed.
mhm, mhm.
Going back to
Yeah.
the measures, and you are working. You, you're working in the field. You're weeding. You're planting. You're harvesting, and so you get to live. You
Mhm,
know, taken for that. But as power accumulates in that kind of system, and there's more food security, then what you're describing sounds like what we talk about, the division of labor.
Mm-hmm.
That people end up specializing in areas of activity and craft, and exploring other ways of manipulating the environment and the materials of the world, because there's this basis of survival security, these calories that are available that can be directed. And so the people, okay, when you have to protect your your lootable wealth, your grain stores and your food stores and your animals, you have to protect them. Then you need weapons,
Mm-hmm.
because there's somebody else who wants to take them. And so now you end up with people who explore how to make better weapons. You start out with the bronze, then you go to the iron, and so you have specialists that have nothing to do with producing grain,
Yeah, hunters.
but who
Like,
but who may be hunters. If you're in a hunter-gatherer society, you don't have stored calories. If you're moving around and you're taking daily from the world,
but you know how to
it's very,
kill. Yeah.
you know how to kill. And but like a hunter-gatherer society is incredibly connected to the vulnerability of their existence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They know that they don't have long-term security. It's you hunt, you move, you follow the herd, and nobody actually. It's hard to get a really secure hierarchy of power in
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
system,
There are no priests.
because
There are no.
everybody shares the same skills.
There are no
Everybody
king.
knows how to hunt,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and
And it's thesis why basically Europe won and colonized like America, Australia, Asia, because
mhm,
because of harsh conditions,
yeah,
uh,
you had to go looking for resources further and further.
centralized. Yes,
Yeah.
they needed to to first like this innovation agrarian like to grains, because in
Hmm.
Australia, in America, they have a lot of bisons, all this animal life for
Hmm.
to hunt, to gather, and
Hmm.
they lived like a good life, and they have like these great conditions compared to Europe, right? And
Yeah,
it's
and
centralized, and they yeah.
and colonization was a great way to get rid of excess population in
Hmm.
a crowded country.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what one of the most fascinating relationships of that colonial and the Industrial Revolution, um, because the colonization began before the Industrial Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of happened. The Industrial Revolution sort of lagged the colonial effort. And so one of the interesting things was Britain had colonies in the tropics, in the Caribbean, like
Mm-hmm.
they had Jamaica, or they had different Caribbean countries. And in Britain they were making like furniture, and they were starting to mass produce furniture and clothing,
Mm-hmm.
and the garments and stuff that the, the people of status were
Mm-hmm.
competing with fancy clothing. And what was interesting was, in the tropical colonies, they had they didn't have much to trade. And it turns out that the thing that they had to trade, the thing they had that they could produce in quantity, turned out to be sugar cane.
Mm-hmm.
And they could raise sugar cane, and they could make rum, but they also had sugar. And in some of the other colonies there was chocolate. And so what happened was, in order to sell, in order to trade the goods that Britain was starting to manufacture in larger quantities with their colonies, the only thing the colonies had to exchange was sugar. And sugar was not a
And
common
slaves.
and spice, but
No, no,
sugar was
slaves.
not
Slaves. I mean,
oh,
like,
and slaves, yeah. But the slaves were largely there to, you know, were actually, you know, really used for the production of sugar, of farming the sugar cane because it was dangerous.
mhm.
Um, and but what happened was there had not been concentrated sugar in Europe before colonized.
Mhm.
The actual sugars that were available were like natural in fruit and berries
Beets,
and
I think. In Russia, it's.
some honey, some, you know,
Mhm.
beets. Yeah, you know, they were natural sugars. But this idea of this concentrated sugar coming,
Mhm.
it had an interesting byproduct because when they were bringing people in, when they were closing the commons and they were forcing the peasants who had a, you know, a long history of living
Mhm.
in the countryside under some lord, but still they had this way of life that was not that hard of a life. And they shared the commons, and everybody had a cow they could milk, and they
Yeah,
shared the
yeah.
grass and all that. When they closed the commons to force people into the cities to work in the factories,
How it's called? He said enclosures, or like it's like.
the Enclosure Act,
Yeah.
yes, when they enclosed and closed the commons, so they it was like when they killed the bison in when they killed the buffalo in the Great Plains
Mhm.
to 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 destroy the economy of the Native Americans,
Hmm.
um, by killing all the bison that was the basis of their energetic system of sustenance. But what happened was they forced these people into these crowded, horrible conditions, industrial revolution. But they found out that the sugar that was coming in, they didn't quite know what to do with. Sugar was a great way of managing the psychology of the people
Hmm.
that were suffering in the industry. It changed their, you know, sugar changes the brain chemistry,
Hmm.
and it's
Interesting.
like a drug. And so it became this substance they didn't really know what the value became of great value to domesticating and pacifying the industrial workers and their families and their kids. And so candy became a huge industry in Britain.
Hmm. Interesting.
Britain
Okay.
consumed more sugar per person than any other country in history for a long time
Hmm. Yeah,
because
it's
that
like
was based, yeah,
it's
yeah,
interesting because in David Graeber, it's example about Madagascar. I think we discussed before. Okay, like we enslave you, but you can consume like some kind
yes, you
of
can consume,
you can
right,
consume some stuff like what we French
right,
do, like chocolate and so on. So your life
yes,
is not bad. Yeah, you have like
not
your
bad,
gods, symbolic values, and you don't know don't need before to consume. You like create it and some like
yeah,
meaningful relationships. But now you're enslaved, but you can consume. So,
and you can consume, and sugar is very addictive,
yeah,
very, you know, and I mean, I
yeah.
eat too much chocolate.
It's interesting, yeah, because like what's the basis, right, of like to do anything like means of production, right, like labor,
Hmm.
some kind of equipment and land, right,
Hmm.
and to basically, and what's happening now with all these robots, right, with AI now,
Hmm.
capital have already like land, right,
Hmm.
means of production, and labor.
Mhm.
So what's the point of like people? Because before, like all
Mhm.
this like rebellions in US, like in mining companies, like this union wars,
Right.
when they
Mhm.
demanded more like freedom, right? It's again, it's like example of principle of what David Graeber illustrated, like slave. It's who like don't have like any relationship, right, long term. And basically when you like have relationship with your coworkers, you build this kind of net of connections.
Mhm.
You're not
Mhm.
slave, you have like power. And
Yeah,
basically,
you have potential power.
yeah, you can reject to work.
Yeah.
So what
Right.
they will do, they can't
Yeah.
produce anything. And Graeber says like in his research that before like Greek, there was like another meaning of this word freedom. It's like if you have like long-term connections, relationships with your neighbors, with your family, then you're free. You have like moral like obligations. And slave, it's who don't have this stuff. But then they change
Yeah.
freedom who if like wants to do like anything, like who commands. It's like freedom equals power to command.
Mhm.
They change the
Mhm.
meaning. Okay,
Yes.
and now like the more free person who have more like employees in their company who can command labor, more money, right? So
Mhm.
people more indebted to them, for example to Elon Musk, and he can say, okay, I will command your labor with my money to
Mhm.
we go to Mars. Basically they are
Mhm.
moving huge like swath, how to say, like a huge population, a lot of people in their direction, what they want to like
Yeah.
to build.
Yeah. They're yes. Yes.
And now right, we like with
Yeah.
what's happening, like means of production, labor, land, right, where like
Mhm.
what's happening with other people, if
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah. Those. Yeah. In the period of financialization that's taken place in much of in the Western world for a large to a large extent, um, the the virtual reality of making money off of manipulating money produces no goods and services. It produces nothing tangible
Mm-hmm.
except more fiat, you know, little ticks in the spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but those little marks in a spreadsheet can be used to acquire real
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, to
In
the
other
disadvantage of
countries, in other
people who were in other countries and in your own
in
country.
your country, yeah.
Yeah. The
It's crazy powerful tool,
uh,
like to
it's a very
extract.
powerful tool, and it's been around for a long time. I remember the people. You're familiar with double entry bookkeeping, right?
It's like black
Well,
accounting.
credits and debits.
Oh,
Credits
credit
and
and
debit.
debit. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
double. They have to cancel out supposedly, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have
Mm-hmm.
liabilities and you have assets, and on a balance sheet they're supposed to balance. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
that whole system of accounting, as I understand it, was developed by the Medicis
Mm.
for the for you know for the Pope and for the Church uh, for managing the bookkeeping and the accounts of the Catholic Church in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out it was very useful for a lot of, it became very, but I think it was perfected by the Medici family, who was became immensely powerful in finance and banking, and eventually became, one of them became a pope, and I think actually married his daughter or something. But it was a weird, that kind of power was really had a very dark side.
Yes,
But
their
they were,
family members. Some of them became pop.
yeah, yeah. It gave them I mean, that was the beginning of really accelerating the financial bookkeeping, accounting, uh, tracking of, what Mesopotamia, maybe, a little vessel of wheat was like the
Hmm.
denomination of wealth that was transferred. Um, and for some reason, the term drachma keeps coming up, but I have no idea why. I don't think that's what it was, but yeah, this part of it is because everyone is born into a period of time that is shaped by these historical trends and convergences. Um, when trade became, let's go back to that period of time, Marco Polo and trading, the Silk Road, the caravans. In Russia, you had caravan tea. You had smoked tea from China that was carried by long distance. I mean, over here we buy something that is it's a simulated, very, very smoky flavored tea
Hmm.
that I think we call Russian tea, because tea would come by animal pack train across Asia,
Hmm.
and the fires, when they would camp every night,
Hmm.
the fires, the smoke would flavor the tea that was in the bags
Hmm.
that was being
Interesting.
hauled by the animals.
Hmm.
And the tea came from China, of course, because the British had not stolen it and planted it in India yet. Um, so there were, what happened was then merchants began, in the feudal era, you had kind of a closed circular economy between the feudal lord, the serfs. There was a dependency that was recognized, and there was a reciprocal exchange, and there was a network of support. There was, as you described, this. They may have been serfs and peasants, but they had deep relationship with their neighbors, with their community,
Yeah.
and so they had,
They were no
they
slaves.
experienced. They were not slaves.
Because
They were
enclosure happened, they were like
Well, that was
deported,
later.
left. Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
you're all
yeah,
alone. And please,
yeah.
please, please give me a job. So it's
Hmm.
like, yeah.
Hmm. But even back in the days of, Charlemagne and the knights, and when Europe was in disarray, the local lord, because we have a hard time imagining how slowly change took place
Hmm.
1,000 years ago,
Yeah.
2,000 years ago, how slow the rate of social change was. We even when we I remember, even like 50 years ago, there was this recognition
In 70s.
before the electronics. 50 years ago, the New York Times was this big, thick Sunday newspaper
Hmm.
that was, I mean,
Really?
the New York Times was a huge.
Hmm.
The Chicago Tribune was a huge. Newspapers in the United States were these. They had lots of advertisings, but
Hmm.
they had just a massive amount. and the recognition was 50 years ago,
It's
60
in
years ago,
70s, right?
yeah, in the
Six.
70s, that one Sunday New York Times contained more new information for the reader than a person 300 years before
Mm-hmm.
would have encountered in their entire lifetime in the way of new information.
And now, like, hold my beer.
And now it's like, yes, hold my beer, right? Yeah, because I'm trying to surf this massive, ocean of information that's just,
AI generated.
yeah. Well, even pre-AI, just
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I look at YouTube and I see all these foreign language channels, and it boggles my mind the amount of server space that all that data, all those bits take up
Yeah, it's all like speeding up
just to
and
host YouTube.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. AI dubbing, like now videos automatically like
Hmm.
translating them. So yeah, it's interesting. It gets uh, people getting like connected, right? Because before you can say, okay, this is bad. I don't know, like China bad, USA bad.
Yeah. It's like the Frankenstein. Ooh, fire bad. um, anyway,
Yeah,
that may
but
not be a
still, you know, it's
yeah.
people getting realize that it's all like artificially created. These concepts of national governments and so on, but like
Mhm.
factually, like in reality, we live like on the same planet,
Mhm.
and there's really like some kind of ecological boundaries, right? What Nate Higgins talks about and other guys. With this
Yeah.
oil peak and
Yeah.
getting to your point like what you start that some people know like for example in the government and they're like getting ready and some like billionaires too they're like building bunkers some kind of like
Yeah.
and accumulating some kind of technology in order to be I don't know like safe and so on uh, for some
Mhm.
kind of change.
Yeah. There's and actually, I've listened to a fair amount of conversations with Elon Musk that he's had with people. And there have been times when he and some of these other very, very, um, and some of the other folks
Joe Rogan.
that are no, not Jordan, but like
Joe Rogan.
area.
Rogan.
Well, I mean, yeah, they've had Musk has become one of the things about Joe Rogan is that they talk for so long
Yeah.
that it's hard for somebody to keep if they're trying to bullshit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can't do it for 3 hours. If you become comfortable and you're talking, eventually you lose your focus and and you start saying things that you may not have intended to say. How you really think about things at like the 2 hour mark, hour and a half mark,
Mm-hmm.
things start to come out in the conversation that the person may not really want, feel comfortable sharing in
Maybe
hindsight.
I don't know. Maybe it depends on your your willpower, your training,
Sure, yeah, it
because
varies. It's not generally,
spice can
but I've
live.
also listened,
Mhm.
but I've listened to him talking in some other settings, and I've listened to like Peter Thiel a bit, and um, and Eric Weinstein, who has worked with Peter Thiel's financial group for
Mhm.
a long time.
Mhm.
And these people are very clear when they're in. And sometimes they will actually speak very clearly about why they believe it's utterly important for humanity to get established off this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And their clarity is that the resource base, the energy base, the technological base, the human skill set, they're very clear. They say we have 30 years before everything starts falling off on this planet. We have a 30-year window to become, for the species,
Mm-hmm.
not everybody, but for members of the species. And it's kind of a eugenics program because these are specialized people who would go and try and establish life on Mars.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not you and me.
Yeah.
And it's not the guy selling melons down on the street. Um, but samples of the species, they say, because their view, while they make a bunker, they're looking for security, but some of them know they're not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of these people are saying, this isn't. I'm not going to go to Mars. I may go to my bunker when when things come apart.
Mm-hmm.
But there is this funny concern for the survival of the species of our form of consciousness, is what they talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that there's a very small window to accomplish this before the ecological systems become too unreliable, before we run out of the resources and the energy necessary. They're they seem, they occasionally will say quite clearly that they see it as a crisis turning point, that for the human species to survive, it has to become multiplanetary,
Mm-hmm.
and there's only a small window to do it, and they can't really be real clear about why, because that means that most of us are going to die,
Mm-hmm.
while some members of the species continue.
Yeah.
and
It's.
and 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 that's been very clearly stated. That's their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can argue about whether it's correct or it's moral or it's worthwhile, but it's their perspective, and they have the resources to pursue it, unfortunately.
Yes, they can command labor. Yeah.
Yeah,
uh, yeah, because of connections like with the government, like this crony capitalism, right? And
yeah.
like green light to do like the things instead of others. Yeah, because like for people,
Yeah,
ordinary people, it's okay. We like flashy things like Tesla, I don't know, like some kind
yeah.
of stuff, sweets, Dyson. It's not like some like evil guys. Like it's
Yeah.
like in everybody.
No, we like the toys.
Yeah,
We like
stuff.
to eat. We like to eat. We like novelty,
Mm-hmm.
and if they keep providing novelty and dopamine and and stimulation but it's part of that hidden that agenda that folks have, who have the ability, um, because obviously they're convinced that their visionary skills, which have allowed them to reach financial heights and
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing heights, and within this cultural milieu, validate. It's a reinforcing feedback of, my view of things is obviously right. Look where I've gotten.
Mm-hmm.
And so my view of the future and where we need to go must be correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the ability to pursue it because of all my previous success
Mm-hmm.
in being right.
Yeah, it's kind of like linear logic.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of factors. Like if you look
Right.
like in a system, right? Like draw like
Right.
this casual loop diagram. like parents and like this kind of context, time, and so on, a lot of
Right.
factors, and okay, you're
Right.
becoming some kind of billionaire. Some it.
Yeah. And yeah. And if you listen to um, people like Paul Kingsnorth, who speak about this from a spiritual framework, they say that the technical revolution or this technical progress is basically a biblical heresy because it's talking about
Mhm.
creating heaven and becoming godlike. And
It's, you know what's interesting, like this thing that now like they changed their mission, I think, Tesla, to what it's like not a universal basic income but universal high income or something like that. Have you heard
yeah,
about
there's yeah,
universal high
yeah,
income?
yeah. There, the framing has shifted in the idea that AI and automation is going to be so successful that everybody's going to just have more money than they need. They're going to be able to consume and get more stuff than they need because the means of production and stuff. But
Yeah,
it all but that
late.
means
Mhm.
yeah, but that
Late.
means strip mining the bottom of the ocean, destroying life on the seafloor in order to mine minerals.
Yeah, I think the plans it's like what's like 10 billion robots, like this kind of
Mm-hmm.
Tesla bots, right? 10 billion.
Yeah,
So basically,
yeah,
they're doing
yeah.
everything, and yeah, if
Well, Tesla's making robots, making
yeah, yeah,
humanoid
yeah, yeah,
robots.
yeah, Tesla
Yeah,
bots, I
yeah.
think
I
it's
mean, that's
called.
what they're planning. Yeah, that's what they're allocating for, right? Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
with time, I think it's, yeah, it's possible like motors and so on to build like some kind
Hmm.
of dexterity. It's, yeah, it's like takes time,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
basically there's like a creature who indebted to you, like to like to servitude, and basically just, money is debt. So basically we don't need money, right? We need like product and services.
Yeah, we need tangible things.
Yeah, and for
And
again the status, ego, like people always want to be kind of different. They have like
hmm
one or more like flashy things, yacht,
yeah,
150
right.
meters, not 100 like other guy, and
Or nicer earrings or
yeah,
nicer rings or it scales based on what you know or a nicer briefcase to go to the office. I mean, it's like
and it's always was like that, like even in Africa, like copper
Mhm.
tubes, they had like this human monies
Yeah.
only like
Hmm.
for, and basically they were useless, this money, some kind of, like copper tubes, feathers, and then sandal. You know what sandal is? Sandal.
Hmm.
It's like it can be used like a sandalwood block. Do you know what it is?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, in Africa they
Yeah.
have like this before, like all this police and so on, like and it's used like for some kind of beautify your face, to change, like
Hmm.
to look
Yeah.
at human money, like feathers and so on. We always wanted to create, like this persona, or this face,
Hmm.
social face,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
distinct myself from like animal, right? Some kind of clothes, and basically, if we were to have like these robots, right? Like maybe there will be like basic food, basic.
Hmm.
I'm not sure about housing. Maybe housing, like like these skyscrapers went 30 floors, tiny rooms, and you will have your TikTok glasses or so or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah,
But still,
yeah.
there will be people who want kind of to differ, right? To
Hmm.
have a yacht, to have like
Hmm.
a private resort in
Yeah,
Montana, for example, right? In Montana or something in
yeah,
Boulder, Colorado, I heard they're building these
yeah, right,
enclosures,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
for rich people
Oh, yeah.
to
Gated communities, they're called. Yes, yeah.
yeah
Gated communities.
to
Yeah.
like to enjoy like real nature, not fake
Hmm.
like TikTok glasses nature, right?
Oh, gotcha. Oh, I see. I see what you mean. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There'll be enclosures. There'll be little preserves that people can have. Yeah. You can have your lion and your tiger.
And it's official. I think I heard it like on WEF, World Economic Forum meeting, because there will be
Mm-hmm.
some people why you need to travel when you can enjoy your like in glasses like this virtual reality
That's
like
right.
from ecology
See,
standpoint. So it's
yeah. 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 One of the issues is that all of the things that um, all of these tangibles, all these goods, not necessarily the services, but all the
mhm,
goods that we exchange and we make, thanks to our, dexterous and our opposable
mhm,
thumbs that are really good at manipulating things, requires the manipulation, the extraction and manipulation of the material of the world that we depend upon,
yeah,
the transformation of the substrate that sustains life into trinkets,
yeah,
I mean, things that we find meaningful, obviously, or we wouldn't, you know. And there's a this brings up the idea of memetics in a way, because there was a woman who did a presentation many years ago on TED Talks, before TED Talks became just a bunch of noise. Um, and she was a memeticist in the UK, very entertaining speaker. And her proposition was that um, she referred to sort of the Dawkins idea of the selfish gene, of the competition
memes,
of genetically driven organisms were competing,
yeah,
and and the more successful ones, those genes continued, right? They got reproduced, and others didn't.
yeah,
And then she spoke about, and so that was like the second replicator, she called the second
yeah,
replicator of
meme,
life.
right?
Well, but memes are now the third. Technological memes are like genes; they compete for space in our minds.
Strange, because in Richard Dawkins' book, like I have this the
Well,
selfish gene,
yeah,
like genes, it's like material, like
yeah,
biological replicator, like,
right,
and then
right,
memes, it's like second,
and
like,
right. Memes are, yeah.
what third?
And well, the thing is, memes. What you were talking about feathers and sandalwood and all these things. If a meme can be defined as an artifact, or a little piece of culture,
Unit of information.
a unit of information, but but arising and moving through a cultural context
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In people heads,
in
basically.
people's heads.
Yeah.
That was the second replicator,
Mm-hmm.
because it replicates you. And now she was talking about teams,
Teams.
technological meme,
Hmm.
and that Yeah, I could send you the link to her
Okay.
TED Talk. I think you'd find it interesting. Her name is Susan Blakemore.
But
Blackmore, I
what's
think.
the point? Like, okay, what's its
Well,
like
the point
team?
is that like genes, if we take Dawkins' idea of genes competing, well, then we apply that to memes competing, taking up resonance, and some memes, some information
Mm-hmm.
seems to be more helpful than others,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that promotes the survival of the organism or the group because
Yeah,
their,
yeah, yeah.
their collection of their arrangement of shared mimetic information allows for group selection
Mm-hmm.
rather than individual selection, but group selection that cooperate and share values in a worldview
Yeah.
that are more successful than another group
Mm-hmm.
because their set of their constellation of memes were not as effective in as another group or ethnic group or
Yeah,
social
yeah.
groups understanding. What she's referring to now is that there are these technological memes that are now driving the show.
You see, yeah, I know, like what you talked before, like basically what Richard Dawkins wrote in his book, right,
Mm-hmm.
regarding memes. I just don't
Yeah.
understand what's the
Well, he
point.
he named it. He named
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
created the term meme.
yeah.
Yeah.
And these
Uh,
teams, it's for me, it's like kind of, it's still the meme because it's all happening in our head. Like we are like like selecting it's all like it's still technology, it's an idea, right? It's like a wheel, it's an idea. So it's like
yeah.
kind of it's like layout, like this virtual world. It's like ideas, units of information, and then can compete uh, through goes like from one head from mine to yours and so on,
Mm.
like songs, right? Or like how to bake bread making of bread from rye. It's again it's unit of information because it's useful for us. It gets from one head from mother to daughter and so on. And I don't know, like usage of AI, like a pattern. It will be selected through the on the time frame, for example, for in future 100 years. Maybe some people like want how say survive mentally, who uses a lot of AI. So it's we are like who like observe, like who like evolves. We still don't have like general AI
No,
because they say
no, not
okay
yet.
it will be
Yeah.
cure of
It's
everything, but now they like ship to the market this porn, erotics, and so on, like and they're saying it's not that simple problem to crack, and I don't think
hmm
it's don't know if it's even possible, this
yeah,
conscious
yeah. The
without biological like
yeah,
this.
the interface between the biological architecture that this conversation utilizes and that all of our activity utilizes is very. Many people think it's very poorly adapted for the environment that we're in now.
Hmm.
Our motivational structures, our dopamine structures, our reward structures, our limbic system um, leaves us this sort of hardwired architecture that we have, this biological system that's is. I mean, we can go to quantum,
No, no,
but the
but
thing is,
we balancing.
biology exists,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a massive amount of information being exchanged within me every millisecond.
Mm-hmm.
Just to do this gesture that's connected with a train of thought, that's connected with a meta communication of expression. This the multitasking, the multi-processing that's taking place within us all the time. It's still happening in the dream state when we're sleeping. I mean, it's the whatever this arrangement of is that we call a body and consciousness, and whatever that relationship is, leaves us vulnerable to many of the stimuli and the stories and the aspirations, the constellation of memes that create narratives and meaning and stories and goals, motivation. It leaves us very, very vulnerable these days to just being pushed, but blown all over the place by the amount of information that we're subjected to, and it's a very for those of us who like to think about this kind of stuff instead of just play the game as the board is laid out.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us who can't help but sort of want to pick up the board and see what's see what's underneath.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fascinating time to be alive, but it's also a rather there can be great periods of darkness and discouragement also.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we can wrap it up on this note.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, till next
Yeah, I'm
time.
sorry, I got a little